Now we're going to increase the complexity even more. We're going to put a widget in a widget and then have them talk to each other. So let's expand this out. And let's make a new Dart file. Let's call this time display. The time display widget here is just simply going to, well, display a duration. So let's go material. So we have the material package in there. Good. And then we'll say class time display. I actually want to make that. There we go. And we want this to be stateless, because we really don't care what's going on in the outside world. We just want to display some information. Duration, let's call this duration. Color, let's say color. And initially, let's call this colors.green. Let's add a final, and let's make this a value change. This might be a little bit new. What we're doing here is we're saying this is a value that's going to be set somewhere else. And it is templated, so we're going to set a duration. Notice how we're not setting that, and it's saying final variable must be initialized. Let's go ahead and fix that right here in the constructor. Whoops. There we go. And we're just going to add in the supers key here. There we go. Notice how we're also missing a concrete implementation of statelessWidget.build. Let's go ahead and fix that. Control-O, build. There we go. Now we just need to flesh that out. What we also need to do here is let's make it on-clicked, because we're going to have a little icon button and we want to be able to clear things out. So what exactly is going on here is we have a duration, we have a color, and then we have a value changed, which is templated saying duration. Value change denotes that this is going to change something. Some value, which is going to be a duration, is going to change. Because we have no implementation, we're saying it's being called somewhere else. It's part of the constructor. We have to pass that. Remember, in Dart, even a function can be a variable. So we're passing a function here. On clicked, we're going to have a button down here somewhere, is also going to call this onClear. So whatever function we hand this widget is also going to be called down in the actual display of it. So we're going to say return new row. We want main axis alignment, and let's say main axis alignment center, because we want to center everything on the screen. Children, and let's go ahead and add some children in here. So we want the padding to be edge inset all. And let's add this as a 5. We don't want to pad it too much. It might look a little ridiculous if we did. And then let's go ahead and add this as a child here. And in here we're going to say new text. And let's say, we want the durations dot toString. And let's give it a style here as well. Just doing a little bit of styling, making it look nice. We're going to say font size equals 32.0. color, and let's say this is going to actually just be the color that we handed it. So we're just going to use that color up here. Initially it's green, but of course we're going to hand it a color in the constructor itself. And we want a new icon button down here. And for the icon, let's say new icon. Got a little ahead of myself there. Icons dot. And let's add the clear icon. And for pressed, we'll say on clicked. So that is our stateless widget right there. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make a stateful widget next. Our stateful widget is going to be a little bit of typing here, so bear with me. We're going to say new, and we want this to be a time counter. And the time counter is going to actually use the display. And for the sake of time here, I'm just going to copy and paste some imports. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to go. We're going to reuse that. Get rid of these. There we go. Save me a little bit of time. And let's say we want the time counter state, which is going to be the state of the time counter. There we go. All right. Just going to return null for the moment. We've seen this design pattern before. We've just got stateful widget, and then we have a state. In the state, this is where things are going to get a little bit interesting. We want a stopwatch, and we're going to call this watch. Want a timer. And we want a duration. If you haven't guessed, we're actually building a stopwatch. So there we go. Let's grab that. And we're just going to make a couple functions here. We're going to say on start, on stop. Let's make this start, not started. There we go. And because we have a timer, we're going to also do an on timeout. So we've got our timer, we've got a stopwatch, we're going to start stop, we've got a timeout, and let's also do an on clear. Let's do an init state. And we want our duration in there. There we go. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Now, let's go ahead and let's build this out a little bit here. We have got absolutely nothing. We've got absolutely nothing in here. Let's start from scratch then. Container. We want edge insets all. Let's say 10.0. Probably help if we actually returned. There we go. And then for a child, we want a new center. Well, let's put a column in here. And then in our column, we want a list of widgets, and we're going to make a new time display. Notice how we have some properties we can fill out. For example, color. We're going to say colors.red. And duration. We're going to use our state's duration. And then the onClear function. Notice how that wants a duration also. on clear. And because those parameters match up, we don't have to do an anonymous function. Now let's add a new row. And in our little list of widgets here, let me actually back out here. I want to make sure this has got the main axis alignment in there. Main axis alignment center, otherwise it's going to look a little goofy. There we go. Now we're going to add a new padding. And for the padding, let's go ahead and say new edge install. I'll break this down just a hair. There we go. This is unfortunately kind of the boring part of programming, is just watching me type and type and type. So let's go ahead and add a new raise button. And on pressed, we're going to just say on start. Now what we can do is we can just take this little guy and actually copy and paste him. So we've got our start, our stop, and now we can flesh out these individual functions and get this thing actually working. So let's look at our start. Whoops, where did that go? There we go. Looks a little better now. So in start, we want to set our watch. Set our timer. We want that to be a timer periodic. And we want this to run in milliseconds. We want this to be every 250 milliseconds. You can make it faster if you want, but you are going to start probably getting into some speed issues on some of the older phones. So we want the on time out. There we go. So that is our start function in all of its glory. Let's go ahead and start that watch. Then let's go ahead and do our stop. We're going to say timer.cancel because we want to just cancel that out. We want to stop our watch. Now the timeout. This is where the magic really happens here. If the watch is not running, we just want to exit out of here. Otherwise, we want to set the state here. And in our little set state, we are just going to say the duration equals the watch.elapsed time. Now on clear, because this is the function that we're handing off to our timer display, we need to actually do something here. In this case, we're just going to clear out that duration. Pretty complex little bit of code. We're going to jump over into our main here. And let's import our timer counter. Time counter, not timer counter. Ooh, I did misspell that, didn't I? There we go. Let's actually, can I actually rename this? Let's try it this way, although I think it's going to complain. There we go. All right, I'm going to say my stopwatch. Usually I do lowercase, that's why I was wondering if it was going to complain on me. And it may. We may have to actually go in and change that around. Wow, all sorts of mistakes in this one. There we go. And let's say new timer counter. Save that. And let's actually rerun the whole thing. And here is our stopwatch in all of its glory. You can see it's going, 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 going. If we hit stop, we did 4.75 seconds. We can actually clear that out. Start it again. And that was 5 seconds, almost 5 seconds even. And if we start it without clearing it, you see how it just clears it out for us. So that's a good example of how to do a widget within a widget and still have them talk to each other. And let's look at the code super quick. We have our timer display, and that's the part that actually just displays this widget here. Notice how we also have this icon button with the on press, which is the on clicked. That's that little X right here. If we click that, it clears it out. It's getting that from our timer counter code right here, new timer display, and we're saying on clear, and we're passing a function as a variable. And we're saying red and then with the actual duration. And then we just have some buttons that control the start and stopping of this thing.